Page 16, Sea Chanty. On pages 14 and 15, they're introducing you to the key of E minor. E minor has one sharp in it. It's the relative minor to G major. You've had G major. Hopefully you've been doing the scale on G major, I hope. One octave up and down. You should, at this point, probably be doing 2 octaves up and down. E minor, same thing, except you're down here, and you have an F sharp. I do the harmonic minor, which raises the 7th step. Here. Because really it's a D natural. But I raise that. That's a little weird. I encourage you to go do my scale video on E minor. Do it. If you don't know the scale, learn it 1 octave up and down. If you already know the scale, great, then go 2 octaves up and down. Learn that, and you ought to do the G major scale and E minor scale together, in my opinion. Just do the key signature, 1 sharp when you do it. And this, again, it's like the first time you sit down to practice each day, you do the scales. The major scale and the minor scale, whatever you're working on. In this case, it's going to be E minor. Yeah. The primary chords you need to know, the 1 chord in both hands, 4 chord, 5/7 chord. So you get that D sharp there. It's important. Now, Sea Chanty. This is in cut time. I have a thing for reviewing cut time, but again, when I learn a piece that's in cut time, first I do it in 4/4 time because it's easier to count. And then once I have it counted and I know what the rhythm is, then I'll go back and do it in cut time. So I'm going to talk about this as though it's in 4/4 time, where a quarter note gets a count. Because in cut time, a quarter note would get half a count. Well, that makes the 8th notes like 16th notes. 1 eanda, 2 eanda, 1 eanda, 2 eanda. It's just easier for me to do it in 4/4 time, where it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and to start. Not everybody does that. That's the way I do it. And this is in the key of E minor. It's got 1 sharp. All the F's are sharped, plus the accidentals. So the right hand, you have an E chord, E minor chord. It's a 1 chord. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then when the 2 measures later, you just come down 1, and it's a D chord. 1, 2. They put the sharp sign in parentheses to remind you, oh, by the way, it's an F sharp. They don't need that sharp sign there because it's in the key signature. It's a sharp anyway. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the next line, you back up to E minor, so forth. Let's go down to the 3rd line. Oh, this is a theme of variations. I should have pointed this out. That's the theme, and they label each of the variations for you. That's nice. Usually you don't get a label, but you usually do get the double bar lines between them because each variation is a section in itself. And when I learn a theme and variations on a piece, I treat it that way. I get the theme down pretty well first, and then I'll go to the first variation. I'll get it down pretty well, and then I'll go to the next variation to get it. I'll concentrate just 1 variation at a time, and then I can go back and put it all together. I don't try and go through the whole piece. Some theme and variations get really long. Ugh. So the first variation is the 3rd line down, and it's the same thing, E minor chord. And this time, next measure is 8th notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. Last 2 measures here at the bottom of page 16. 1, 2, and then 3rd finger. So your thumb and the 3rd finger here. Then when you go to the top of page 17, you got to lift up and move. That's fine, you just lift up and move. And 8th notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and scrunch up, so forth. Let's go to the 2nd line, last 2 measures here on page 17. It's an E minor scale going down, the natural minor. 1 and 2. Here, that's all. So do the scale. And then the chord, it's an E minor chord, but this is what we call extended position, where we extend out to the octave. Here to this, and that changes the fingering here. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use 2 and 3, so that's why the fingering is that way. 1 and 2. You don't have to keep the hand in here. As you get up, you can collapse. Let's That's all. You collapse. If I need these notes for the future, I'll stay here. It's like in the next line, it's here. I might stay there for that. However, I have a 1 beat rest, so I got time to move back down. So you can collapse going up. And then going on is 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 1 and so forth to the last 2 measures. We're here, well, the last 3 measures. Let's take it. It's 1 and 2 and 1. And then 4 finger, cross over 3rd finger. It's like an E minor scale fingering. It's just we're just not using all the notes. Rest, and then you have the B and the E together. You can do 1 and 4, 1 and 3, 2 and 5, however you want to finger it, just finger it. Left hand at the beginning, half notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. This is the melody here. 2, 4, and then thumb, cross over, and then the 3rd finger there in the 2nd measure, 2nd line here. And then the right hand takes over. In the meantime, move their left hand down, so it's a thumb. Now, next line, 2nd finger. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Come down. 2. Now thumb, they say. Don't know why, but okay. I think you could have stayed there. Fine, that's fine, because you got 2 beats of rest to come back up. They're fingering them all the same. You're starting each one of these with 2nd, and then for the 8th notes you're using thumb. And they're doing them all the same. And that's actually a pretty good idea. So fine, do it that way. And then the 5/7 chord and 1 chord. Top of page 17 is just chords. 3rd measure over, D chord, remember the F sharp. Back up, okay. 3rd line down, the last you're down here now. B, E, B. And then go down 1, D, A. Okay, and then the last measure. The notes are written here. It has an 8V8 under it. You go down an octave here. If you have the notes, you have a short keyboard, you don't have the notes, then play it where you got it. Put the hands together. 1, 2. See this, you're going to hold the half note down, but the quarter notes are quarter notes. What I'm saying is, don't play these half notes like quarter notes. That's quarter notes. Were you doing that? Hold the half note down. Next variation, now it's a quarter note. You lift it up when you play the B. So I lift it up when I play the A. And that quarter, don't hold these notes down longer. I'm going to play the rest. Top of page 17. Again, we got a 1, rest, rest. So forth. 3rd line down. You're down here. These are half notes. Hold them down. Right when I play the B, I lift up. And that's the piece for the most part. Then we can do the staccatos. Now you work out any hesitations you got before we go on. You got to get all this rhythm and fingering worked out first. And then we can do the articulation. Accents and staccatos. Here, accent, play a little extra, just a little louder. Not a lot louder, a little louder. But the quarter notes are not accented, so don't play those so loud. 1, 2, 1, 2. And then here, accent. So, and then staccato, a wrist staccato in the right hand. Slur all this together. It has to sound like one hand played all of that. Then the variation 1 is an accent, staccato, but no accent in the right hand. See the accent and staccato in the last measure on page 16. Fermata, you'd hold out a little while longer, and I do this with a metronome. I just double the value. I can't say how many beats because it depends on whether I'm doing it on 4/4 time or cut time, so whatever. And then at the top of page 17, you're connect this and the staccato in the left hand. Don't overpower the right hand here. We want to hear the right hand. Here, lift up between these slurs in the right hand. So and again, that fermata, that half note, I'll hold it to the equivalent of 2 half notes instead of 1. And then we go on down here, the next line, accents, like a sort of. And these are half notes now. So forth. In the last line, last couple measures, just connect staccato on that one and then accent on the last one. Don't get carried away on this accent because you're playing clear down here and that gets a little loud real easy. We want to hear the right hand. Then once you can get the handle on the articulation, then you think about the dynamics. Well, it's loud and that's the melody, which at the beginning is the left hand. So these chords are only about a medium soft to medium loud. Now the accent's going to make those notes sort of a very loud because you got to play them a little extra. And then come down a little bit to moderately loud here. Again, it's the left hand for the most part. But the accented notes will take it up to loud. Keep the right hand soft. Then you crescendo up to loud. Now the right hand gets melody. That means the left hand's softer than that. There's a retardando. Slow down a little bit. Because I keep slowing down all the way to the half note. And then at the top of page 17, we're moderately soft in the right hand, very soft in the left hand, and it's all tempo means we slowed down before, now we're back to what we were doing, the regular speed. Sort of soft. So forth until you get to the last 2 measures of the second line. You're starting it out sort of soft. And you have that retardando, you're going to slow down and go down to soft. Here, or I think very soft is fine. Just keep this chord very soft in the left hand. The next line, now we're back to loud with accents in the left hand, makes them very loud. Again. These are not accented, or they're not staccato in the right hand, so don't play them too short. line comes up to loud. And you're going to go up from there to very loud. So you can start sort of at a moderately loud if you'd like, so you got more room. Louder. Now it's very loud with an accent. I think that's an overkill, but just play it really loud. In the right hand. Keep the left hand down a little bit. I don't agree with putting accents on very loud notes unless it's certain situations, and this isn't one of those situations. And then you're going to slow down again. See, at the end of every one of these, the theme in each variation, we've slowed down. That keeps it consistent, so it's rest, and so, yeah. And you think about the speed. Well, this is where we put it back in cut time, because by now you should have the rhythm down pretty well. And we want to feel it in 2, 1, 2. And it's a fairly fast, it's with energy. So keep the same speed throughout until those sections where you slow down. Then they've added pedal on top of that for the last variation. Don't need pedal on it, but they've added it, and it's part of what they wanted. That's the different feeling. Don't use pedal on any of these other things, because you mess up the flow and the staccato and all that junk. But I'm going with, because the last variation is loud, I'm going to push the pedal down with the notes. Usually I push the pedal down after the notes, but on loud things, especially accented things, we kind of an explosion of sound. And if I want the explosion of sound, I put the pedal down with the note. I release the dampers immediately. Otherwise, I would start the sound first and then release the damper, so it kind of grows into it. But here, we're just going to go boom, and it's all there. So at the variation 3 there on page 17, it's third line, it's together. And as I play the second measure, I lift it up right after I play it. Here at the last line, third measure, I'm going to lift the pedal up before I play it. I want silence before the slur, so it's separated. And I'm going to pedal the last note because it's a explosion is what it is. It's like a cannon shot, I guess. So the pedal comes down. Actually, I teach you a little technique we use a piano sometimes. Because there's a rest in front of that last note, you got a 1 beat rest. Doesn't last very long. Actually, it's a half a beat rest in cut time. The point is it's silent. You have time. And when we do that, you can push the pedal down before you play the notes. So I have the dampers off the strings ready to go. So when you hit that chord, it truly is like an explosion. And that's what I would suggest you do. So just push the pedal down first, or the last 2 measures be like that, because you're going to slow down. And then push the pedal down. Right after you play that E, push the pedal down immediately, and then you're ready to go. Assuming you don't accidentally play another note in the meantime and screw it up. That's something you can try out. We don't use that technique very often, but it's kind of fun to do sometimes. Please don't copy me. I just kind of, as I said, if I play this 10 times, I'll play it different every time. You have to get to know the music well enough you can feel it, you make it yours. Just don't violate what the music tells you to do, and you can just let your imagination, your feelings take over and play it as you feel it. I like to play this with you very slowly to double check the notes and the rhythms. Not going to do the dynamics. I can't slow down. I'll just hold the fermatas an extra half note value, and I think I'm going to put the metronome on quarter notes, so it's going to beat quarter notes. So I'll give us 4 quarter note counts to come in, and then we'll play it together. Now put your foot on the pedal right at the beginning of this, so it's ready to go throughout the whole piece. 1, 2, ready, go. Two, three, four.